Ancients of Moo Moo. Ancients of Moo Moo.
And without context, you're just being weird.
Let's keep going. Let's just keep going. Let's keep going.
Yeah. That's what would the KLF do? You know, what would the KLF
KLF, yeah. Ancients of Moo Moo.
So you may have watched the documentary recently.
I watched the documentary, yeah. Ah, Jesus, they're mad bastards. We'll have a good chat about these at the end.
You had the Lurgi.
I got ill after being in a house of germ warfare for 2 weeks. I finally succumbed. I battled as hard as I could, and I went Mario Pull on it, and I couldn't.
Is that tasteful? Is that tasteful? I don't know. It's hard to know. Yeah. It's accurate, possibly.
Accurate. Yeah. Well, germ warfare, bastards. I was ill, but I'm okay now again. So I'm alright. It's a nightmare. Everyone's sick. I was telling you before.
Yeah.
My brother and sister, and he's sick. People in Ireland are sick. People in your house are sick. Everyone's sick. What the hell's going on? It's 5G.
5G, yeah. It's
Graham Hunter. Not Graham Hunter. Graham Hancock.
Yeah. Come back, David Icke. All is forgiven. We believe you now. I don't know. It's everyone's sick. It's just kind of... But it's that time of year too, isn't it, that everyone gets sick? It's the sinus season, and it's the everywhere around here, the fields are covered in rapeseed. That seems to be the biggest trigger for sinus, seemingly. I don't know, I don't get it. Or not sinus, for
pollen.
Pollen thing. What's that called? That thing that people have.
Allergies.
Allergies, yeah, it's not that.
Hay fever.
Hay fever. So that seems to be the biggest culprit for hay fever. And literally any field that has more than a metre by metre has been planted with it at the minute. Yeah, so that it's...
Rapeseed is rocket... Isn't there some dirty secret about rapeseed that it's really not as environmentally friendly as it's supposed to be?
I can't imagine
the fuel they make off it is actually dirty fuel or something.
Is that ethanol? Is that thing? Where it was meant to be the clean fuel, but it's not.
I don't remember. I don't. But sure, even there's this thing with the hydrogen was supposed to save the world. Hydrogen is supposed to be awful filthy as well. But...
We're just filthy human
Maybe
beings.
we should just not drive as much. Do you think?
Maybe.
Or we could have bigger cars that would bring people from where they're living to where they need to work, and they would go a few times every hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, people wouldn't be into that though.
No, you'd have to sit beside someone you don't know.
Bigger cars. What would you call them? Auto something. Auto.
Yeah. Buses.
Trams.
Yeah.
Trams.
Yeah. Our car, our relatively new car, has that's the hybrid thing, so you can plug it in. So we can plug it in, and I can get to Dundalk and halfway back on a charge. But it's not bad.
God.
That's not, but it's with the price of petrol these days, that's not too bad. It costs about $180 to go 30 miles. That's
it's not bad for Ireland because it's not bad small.
Yeah. And if you were living in a city, you would probably never get petrol. You wouldn't. You just charge. Because I know there's a guy, friend of Vanessa's, he's a teacher, and he charges his car at night, drives to school, plugs it in when he gets to the school, and then drives home. So he never gets have to put anything in it.
Okay, that's good.
But there is some cars, some of the newer ones that you can do 300 miles, 400 miles, or 300 or 400 kilometres, whatever is the thing.
Yeah.
But it still takes 8 hours to charge. But that'll get better, or it won't. They got new batteries out that can store way, way more, which is brilliant. It's a big breakthrough. It's only happened yesterday, according to Reddit. But the rate at which it can expel the power is shit.
Right.
So they have to work on that.
I saw some cool things from Germany, because Germany obviously has its hands very, very dirty for what's going on with Russia, the fuel stuff. They're putting down these floating solar farms on old what do you call it? They fill in these old quarry mines with quarries with water, and then on top of they make these artificial lakes, and then they put these solar farms. Solar mirrors on top, and it's just it's a deadly idea.
Yeah, I've seen some of the stuff from China as well, that they have just fields and fields and fields and fields of solar panels.
Well, they'd love to have that in Ireland, but then everyone in Ireland's a NIMBY. They're like, well, the place won't look nice. Shut up.
Yeah, there's even here, and we have quite a number of turbines around here, and I like the look of them, as you may have noticed from my fascination with them. But there's so many posters and meetings and stuff all about to get rid of them. And it's not, because like, I mean, the whole thing like turbine syndrome, there is a syndrome where people think it gives you cancer, there's noise from it, and there's all these kind of things. Well, there is problems with turbines in that it kills a lot of wildlife, and there's other things as well. But their objection is that they look shit. It's like, well, let's all die then. How about that?
Yeah. I don't get that way of thinking. Oh, I think they look really cool, and even the solar farms, they look even kicker-asser.
Yeah,
they look deadly, and more of them, please.
Or that thing where they're doing all outdoor car parks, put the solar panels on top, and and that they're talking about that. Then what will happen eventually is that every car park will have a charge, so you go in with your electric car, plug it into the sun.
Yeah.
Everyone's happy. Or that lampposts can be turned into charging points.
Yeah.
They probably all can. They never will, but they probably.
Oh no, you see it here. Well, you see the bus stops here. Have little things, plug your USB charger into them. So. They're not everywhere, but in the bigger towns.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'm out of touch. Maybe if you go to Dublin, this is happening, but it's certainly not happening Main Street already. I did some spirit bothering yesterday. You'll be interested in video going up hopefully tomorrow, where I went back and started using the Necrophonic app again, because it was always good fun with that. So he goes, what will I do? Who will I annoy? And I was going to annoy Black, and that seems like I'd be cheating on with you. And he goes, well, I better not do it with Black, because, that's my Spud's thing. Imagine he goes, God, Tommy, I'm so glad Spud's not here this time. I've stuff to tell you, and I didn't want to say it in front of him. Yeah. Spud's going to die next week. But anyway, so I said...
you have to shag his missus.
Yeah. Because You just have to swap wives. Let's go. Right. Can we do it over Zoom? Because I don't want to get on a plane at the minute. So I said... Because I don't want to just be bothering... because I've been watching a lot of like stupid videos on the internet, but I'm really enjoying them. Like the Slapped Ham, what a name, and Nuke's Top 5, which is all these ghost things. And you kind of... When you start, no matter what ones, the first 3 or 4 you watch of these, they're terrifying. And then there's a pattern, and then you know exactly what's going to happen. Every ghost seems to have this movement from behind the door. It's just... But every now and again, there was ones I watched yesterday where the interesting ones are when people are filming stuff for something completely unrelated. So there's this 2 guys who go around abandoned buildings, but they've been doing it years. They have a huge YouTube thing. They're both not into ghosts. They're literally trying to find... old stuff, and people notice stuff in their video of people, like a dark figure, and it's like really creepy looking. They didn't even know about it until they put it up on the internet. So stuff like that, you kind of go, "Ooh, that's interesting." Yeah. But again, could be the most brilliant way of or anything. But it's like they could be doing it knowing that hopefully someone will see it, and then it'll look great. And it's great advertising, all that. Uh-huh. But it's kind of I enjoyed the kind of engaging with the phenomenon thing of it, where they're trying to the way I used to do stuff, like doing the randonauting and the Necrophonic app and whatever. And I was talking to Duncan the other night about randonauting. He's never done it. You ultimately never end up doing it either, did you?
I've still never done it.
Yeah,
and I put on loads of people to it at the start, and then I just kind of ran out of steam with it. I've had brilliant things that I wanted to do, like on certain days where I have 3 people, different parts of the world, and we'll concentrate. Oh yeah, we were going to do that. Yeah, and
then there was lockdown. I couldn't leave that.
Doesn't happen, like.
Yeah. But yeah, so there was one of those kind of top 5 best randonauting things, and there was the one where they find a dead body in a suitcase. That's just so weird. Oh. Yeah. So I was talking to Duncan about it, and I was thinking about the one I done where I found a doll's head. So I went back and I looked at it. God, I used to put so much effort into my YouTube videos. It's like editing them, putting music, sound effects. I was like really interested. And then you can just see there's a gradual just me, unedited static shot, which is fine. Yeah. But I just kind of got into because I'd love to do more like that. So I said I'll call up my HGA on the Necrophonic app and see what happens. Yeah. So I called up all the usual suspects from the 47, had the sigil out, the whole thing, went through it. And I tried to use that new app, the Signal one, but it's too noisy. It's just too much. It's like constant. So I went back to Necrophonic app. So I was going through a bit of it to do the subtitling thing that you do. You force people to believe.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of bits in it. I didn't do much of it because I was just editing it together. I go, right, I'll do it all in one go, the subtitle. Because it's not that I was going to say it's not boring, but it's tedious a bit, you know.
It's a slog. It is.
Yeah, yeah.
Subtitling is boring.
Yeah. But there's a couple of bits in it like where broken words and does make a sentence, and there's one that is a really long sentence, and you go, oh, and then there's a bit at the end that sounds exactly like someone crying, talking, but it doesn't make a perfect sentence. I was going, I could really, you know, if I change a word here and there, I can be convincing. I'd be absolutely convincing that that's what something has been said, but it's not what I'm hearing, you know. But if you subtitle it, you're leading people. So it can, or if you edit certain things in a certain way, you know, if there's one question where I ask something about what's, you know, my studies with theosophy, is that a good thing or whatever, and there's kind of rubbish, and then it seems to be an answer at the end. So you could edit it so that it sounds like you're getting immediate answers and stuff like that. But I won't. I'm nearly tempted to do 2 edits. One where I go, look how I could make this sound awesome, but first listen to the boring version.
There's a funny thing with these things that we're doing. These, what would you call them? Is it clairvoyancy?
I don't know. Spirit bothering, I would call it.
I don't think it is clairvoyancy. Clairvoyancy is
clairaudience.
Clairaudience is you hear voice. Voyance is when you see it in your head. So it's not clairvoyancy.
Or you see. Oh well, what is it then when you actually see it?
Well, it's the same thing because everything's seen in your head anyway. Yeah, there's this thing that like...
I think there's a load of Claires. I think there's 4 or 5 Claires. Yeah. There's Eclairs. They're the nicest ones. The chocolate Eclairs. Chocolate Clairaudience.
And then there's Claire from Ennis, so you need to avoid horrible gowl. You need to... there's this thing with them that like they always seem to be a sentence behind us.
Yeah.
Like there was something pointed out to me. Like I've gone through the first ritual with Jason, especially. I've gone through that fucking with the comb.
Yeah, I'd probably find the same. Listen to just Jason on his own as well. I did that as well, you get a different appreciation of it from just the text as well. But no, I
haven't listened to him on his own. But and loads. I've thought I've gotten everything out of it, you know. And then only someone said to me last week, pointed out something new, and I went, holy fuck!
Spud will die next week. What if you die next week? I'd feel terrible. I'd feel brilliant in one way. I predicted that, but I would feel terrible that you died.
It's useless because you can't predict the lottery or the football score. It's useful.
Yeah.
You're not supposed
to. Spud wins the lottery and then dies.
To taste glory just once, huh?
Yeah.
As long as you get to cash in the ticket, though. Fucking hell! Imagine dying before you get to cash it in. But
you're not sorry. Just interrupted about the guy in the coma.
There's just that thing that like it blows my mind that the answers are usually fairly good with these things, but they're always a question behind. You know, I find that funny, bizarre, especially when they're
lag,
in time. Why is there a lag though? Because like we're the one who are living in time. They don't. They're above all that.
Yeah, I don't know, but is it also... You would have to make sure, though, that it's always the same length of time, in a sense, because you don't want to be going, well, I asked a question at 5 minutes, but at 30 seconds it seems to answer that. You know, are you just picking the thing that sounds like the answer to your question then? Or is it always 25 seconds behind, you know, or something like that? Because, you know, as we know, we're pattern-making machines. But then again... If it doesn't exist in time, why wouldn't the question asked at the 25-minute mark be asked or answered in the 30-second mark? You know, like, why not?
Oh, yeah, why not? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that gives them time to think about it or whatever.
No, I mean, if it's the opposite way, if you've asked a question, they can answer it before you ask it and all that.
Yeah, that too, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's just that kind of thing, you just have to be careful that you're not making up stuff. But I mean, but then is that the medium through which to communicate is by you patterning it out and making sense of it. Like, saying here's a octahedron, there you go, and if, say, it doesn't resonate with me, it just falls away, right? It just goes away, it doesn't do anything. There's plenty of things, signs and syncs and interesting things that have happened that I probably don't even remember anymore because it just didn't seem relevant. But then, so, you know, it's like a seed goes in and it kind of, some of them go out and you learn something and it, you know, and you start looking for patterns and you start seeing things. And if it's useful to you, then does it matter if you've done that? because the seed thought itself you probably wouldn't have come up with. It's like a divination. It's like you pull out the fodder around your question and you get to experience your quandary or the thing you're asking about from a completely different perspective that you probably
you have to put your question through that lens of what he represents. Yeah.
And even if it's going, it's just random, but even if it's random, it's still putting you in a different mind space, a different kind of place or whatever, and allows you to. So I think my thing is, I don't know. I don't.
I'm just saying, I'm a clue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What's your current thoughts on the whole thing? Then what have you learned by fine-tooth combing it? Is there any insights?
No, it was just kind of looking for stuff, looking to see what was in it. Was there anything that was missing? And it was Gene who said it to me that there's a part in it where I ask. It was just before I asked the question about the war. I says, right, when is Putin going to die or something like that? And that's where we got this 4-7 thing, right? But the question had been before that. Maybe you asked it, or maybe it was me. Do you have powers of prophecy? And then it said, Spud, you can. Right?
Okay.
Totally missed it. Missed that, right? And then all connected with the mad sinks I had last week. He was just pointing out, no, it's okay. Like you can do this, this was going to point somewhere.
Did you talk about those things on the podcast, or was that?
No, because it didn't happen until.
Right. Well, you better put people in context then. If you want to, I know.
I don't remember them all now. I was having a laugh about it because there was a vote in the EU about should they embargo the stuff from Russia, and it was only 93 voted against it. I went, look at this. There's Crowley showing. There's Crowley winking at everyone, and then later the same day the UN had a big vote, and it was the opposite. It was 93 voted for something. For something. Yeah. And I went, look at this fucker. Look. If there's one more now, it'll show up. And later that evening then, I picked up my Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, opened it up, chapter 9, and there right in front of me is 3 verses. I went, okay, I'm reaching here now. I'm reaching, and I know I'm reaching. I know I'm reaching. I know I'm reaching. That's okay. So just before bed then, I'm doom scrolling, and fucking an interview on Sky News comes up with your man Peskov. Peskov is one of the Kremlin's spokesmen, with the blondie kind of mustache. And so it's on Sky News. I turn on because I say, right, I'll watch this on the big telly. Turn on the telly, turn on the Xbox. I went through all the rigmarole. I get fucking YouTube on it. 9.3k views. I'm like, okay, that's it.
Go to bed.
Thank you. Good night. Got it. So like I know I was kind of primed for something to happen on 4-7 because I couldn't get any 4 because he said 4 and 7 was the thing. It's like what the fuck's 4 and 7? So 4 and 7 is 7th April from an American. One of the lads told me that. From our perspective, it wouldn't be that at all. It'd be 4 and 7 would be
4th of July. 4th of July.
So let's see what happens there, as well. But so I just sent it off. I wrote down all these things to you, and you were like, "Yeah, send it off to Marco," and I sent it off to any other Thelemites that I know as well, and they were all kind of coming back with ideas.
No, but you had. See, I don't want to be leading you because I don't know what you want to talk about. You had a voice thing as well. Do you want to mention that though?
Oh, jeez, I forgot about it. Yeah. On the morning.
Yeah.
No, that was the next morning. Okay. Yeah. Because this was all going on. And
this is why I sent you to Marco.
It was all happening at night time.
Because in the middle of it, Marco's going, "I'm lost, Spud. What's going on here?"
So there was the couple of 93 things, and I know it's a reachy thing. Like we know that number. Anyone who's in this kind of woo-woo world will know that number. It sticks out because there's 93. There's 93.
Well, I mean, one of the big things around my HGA thing was that the second form of the spelling of the name was 93.
Right. So, yeah.
I mean,
everywhere.
it's
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're used to it if you're into it.
And it stands for love is the law, or any amount of other things in Thelema.
And the next morning then, the lads weren't going to school because they were sick, and I'd done my thing that I haven't done in ages, and it's the thing that used to most of my like mystical lucky experiences have come through this thing of waking up and then just having a quick snooze back again, and then you're between the wake and sleep, and just fucking your mind just goes, ha, woo! Yeah. And I heard the voice, and he said, all that's left, my boy, is the conflation of the Holy Son and the Amen Mother. And I went, oh, okay. What? So I wrote it down and I went, okay, that's just a bit weird. And then you were like, was it Crowley?
Because this is on the days of the receiving of the Book of the Law. So there was it was the
first day of that as well.
But do you remember your own life at all?
No, I don't.
See, this is, ladies and gentlemen, why it's important to keep a magical diary. Spud is showing in real time how quick you forget things.
So when I had this voice, that was the first day of the Holy Thelemic 3 days, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah. Pretty sure. Yeah. That's how I remember it. I also didn't write it down. So
like, which is mad because that's probably the biggest of the syncs. But for me, it seems the least relevant because I'm not a Thelemite.
Yeah, because it's not resonant. That's
you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, that could be what the syncs are pointing to, though.
That's exactly. The syncs are all pointing at Thelema, follow Thelema, do what Thelema tells you to do.
What about Louise? No syncs for Louise, the harlot. Yeah. Louise, friend of Claire from Ennis.
From Ennis. So it's bizarre. It was a really bizarre, 48 hours kind of thing, and then. Yeah, getting in touch with people, and you were saying was a Crowley. You were sending me these recordings of Crowley, and
Crowley doesn't sound like he doesn't sound like you think he would sound like.
But then,
he did sound a
bit like him, but he sounded like a posh Englishman in my head, and that's what he sounds a bit like, and he doesn't as well because he does have a bit of a Birmingham accent. That's where he's from, isn't it? He was from all over England, though. He lived everywhere in England, didn't he? He lived all over the country, so he probably picked up loads of different accents along the years. He has a little bit.
Well, he went to Oxford, didn't he? So he's going to have that you're going to end up ultimately with that accent, aren't you? Like if you're
it's a bit of a high pitch kind of thing as well, like you know.
Yeah, but that, like when you go back and you listen to like radio programs from the early 1900s or TV, they have it's it's just an affectation, something they're doing that this is the voice you're meant to have. So so it could be especially if because a lot of those recordings he's performing like the Nokian calls or he's reading poetry. So it's not it's almost like your telephone voice. You're not going. It's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
So you probably talk like this, like you know what I mean, like look at the law and. The real Aleister Crowley.
But where did it lead to? I suppose it led to people pointing out two things really, either Liber Samic or Star Sapphire, and Liber Samic would bring
Leader
it
sandwich.
Back. Leader sandwich. Liber Samic would bring it back to that podcast with not the medical doctor Steve Skinner. Because that was something that I picked up on that maybe we were supposed to go back and look for in that podcast because he had been talking about it, you know. Yeah. But then connecting that with Star Sapphire, and Star Sapphire is a bit like Cliff Notes is what Mr. Shoemaker calls it. It's a bit like a cheat code for Liber Samic. So they were both saying, yeah, do that as well. And it's funny because Star Sapphire works complementary to Star Ruby because the Star Ruby is seen as this. It's the pentagram ritual, so it's elemental forces, whereas Star Sapphire is the more like theurgetic forces, consciousness. Okay. So one is expanding that way, the other is expanding that way, and I just thought that was an interesting thing for me and you. Like when we start doing the aethers, like we're both covered then. You know what I mean? And because it's a shared thing that we're going to be doing, then you have the elements, I have the consciousness. And I felt that everything clicked into place then. It's like,
well, that's it.
And then I got sick.
Yeah. What was I reading recently about the thing about the whole notion of spiritual sickness? That it's, Kingsley goes on about it, Swedenborg had it, Blavatsky certainly have it, where they get sick and they have to confront their spiritual ideas. Like Kingsley talks about that he got sick, and so he had to hang out with Empedocles for whatever it was, 9 months. He'd no choice. That's what he felt. Swedenborg had something similar. Blavatsky had she was, I think she ended up in a coma or something, but then, or she could communicate or something. But there's some spiritual period that is you're forced to do something by having a sickness, which you could probably get around by doing your homework, and not being made to be sick, so you're incapacitated to actually do what you're meant to be doing. But follow your true will, etc. But yeah, so maybe you did need to sit down and actually let these things kind of. I was going to say fester, but that sounds like it's like worms in your brain. But like to sit with them. But yeah, but no one knew you probably still worked while you were sick, did you? You probably did. Probably had to.
I didn't yesterday. Yesterday right. I didn't. Yeah. No, I still logged in the morning and done my usual forum stuff, but I have to because no one else will do it. So.
Well, that's it.
Yeah. I suppose technically then, I did work. Yeah. A day off. What's a day off? Crazy. You know what that is? Holiday.
Yeah,
I think I've worked with these lads for 4 years now. I've never had a holiday. I've taken holidays, but worked. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I've never.
That's the glory of being glory of freelancing. Yeah.
It's a bit mad that everything points at Thelema because it's like.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not, because I've said from the almost day one, this podcast ends. You can come live on Zoom, having a cake of light. This is it. We've been pointing at it since the very beginning, and and you may get ready for it.
It's just I don't want the podcast to end, Tommy. Well,
instead of it being the end, we could say the pinnacle. It's the moment where if it was a documentary about our life, where it would freeze frame and go, it was after this that things got really weird. Once Spud at the cake of life, things took a turn for the truly bizarre. Yeah, telling you, it's going to happen.
Sure. Look, we'll see. I mean, I'm enjoying reading more about him lately than I ever have before. I'm finally able to distance the man from what he done. I'm getting there. You know what I mean? Like even I read the book. I'm never reading that. Nah, it's too hard. It's gonna be impossible. Fucking 800 pages of wank. It's like fucking just like 20 pages. Yeah. What the fuck is wrong with me? Like it's nothing. Just flew through it like
Yeah. Even
that's okay. It's great.
3 nice little parts. and a commentary at the end to tell you what it's about.
Absolutely nothing wrong with this.
Have you read? There's a couple of other commentaries he's done as well that are in the Book 4, the big one, the blue one. I don't know if it's in Skinner's version. I assume it is, but I'm sure you can find them on the.
I'll probably I don't know if I was planning on getting Skinner's one, but then
Skinner's one's really, really cheap at the minute. It's like I looked and it's like £24.
I saw that chat between Foolish Fish and Esoterica.
I
don't know his real name. I don't remember his real name. I saw the one on Foolish Fish channel. I haven't watched the interview with each other, and he was giving out about your man, Mr. Esoterica. I can't remember his name, Doctor something.
Not a medical doctor.
Probably not. No,
I think he's a doctor of
PhD in religion stuff.
Religion, yeah.
He was saying it's full of spelling mistakes, and it really annoys him to read it.
God, yeah, I noticed a few, but I didn't think it was full. But because I didn't extensively look at it,
I have. I finally sat down with one of Jodorowsky's. He has 3 fiction proper books, novels, and I'm reading the first one. It's bloody hilarious, so it is. And towards about the halfway mark, you get some spelling mistakes in it. But like it's a translation, so don't expect too much. But it's like reminds me of. Do you remember that book? Everything is Illuminated. There was a good film as well.
Don't think
What's his name? The Hobbit. Who's the Hobbit? Not the English Hobbit, the American Hobbit. He was in the Dolphin film.
I'm completely lost. I don't know what you're all about.
Lord of the Rings. What's the name of the main Hobbit? Frodo.
Frodo. Oh, yeah.
The actor.
Yeah. I was going to say Ethan Hawke. Yeah. Chesney Hawkes. I know who you're on about. Yeah. He's also in...
I am the one and only. Yeah. That's not Chesney Hawkes. What's his name? He was in the Dolphin film. Fungi.
What? Fungus? Fungus. I don't know.
He was a child actor in it, wasn't he?
I don't know. Yeah, I know who you're on about. The name escapes me because I can't remember anything and my brain doesn't work anymore.
Lord of the Rings actor. there's everyone is shouting at their fucking
Chesney Hawks. I'm going.
Elijah Wood.
That's it. Yeah, Chesney Hawks.
Okay, Elijah. Now I have to see now if he was in this.
This could be completely wrong. It's the other guy. Who's the other guy who was in Sin? No, he's in Sin City. Yeah, and I don't know him and
Elijah
Harry Potter.
Wood in Sin City. Oh, he was. He was the psycho guy. Wasn't he? Flipper, not Fungi.
Right.
What's the name of the dolphin in Cork? That's what I'm making. Or in Kerry. That's what I'm mixing it up with. Irish dolphin. Dingle, isn't it? Dingle is the place.
Did he not die recently? No, or disappear?
I think they've had the same dolphin now for about
50 years.
He's fungi.
Fungi.
Yeah. So fungi, fungus, flipper. Okay. See what my brain is doing.
Right. Anyway, what? Why are we talking about this guy?
I don't remember.
Oh man, this is the best podcast in the world.
COVID brain, man.
Yeah.
COVID brain. What were we talking about?
What were we talking about? Oh well, hold on. Spelling mistakes. Jodorowsky.
Yeah. Everything is illuminated. Everything's illuminated. It's a really, really good book, and it's about this American, American Jewish boy who goes back to Ukraine to find out about his roots. It's a fucking hilarious book, and the main character is this Ukrainian dude who's proper Slav, like me, Adidas, covered. Well, I'm not head to toe, but he's covered head to toe in Adidas, and he has this. He's your man's translator, and he's fucking hilarious. But Jodorowsky's book is a bit like this because it's about him telling the story of his family tree.
All right.
And it's like he says at the start of it, it's like it's something that he says. This book is so true that it has become mythical. So in other words, none of it is true. None of it is true. It's bonkers. It's so
Is
mad.
it like endless poetry where they paint each other black and all that, him and his mum and all that kind of
I didn't see it. I didn't see it, but there's mad stuff in it about like how each of them are born, and like there was one like great grand uncle or great grand uncle, or auntie who was born a hermaphrodite.
Right.
And she was foretold to be this the savior of the local indigenous people of Chile, who their parents one of his sets of grandparents had just moved to after getting out of Ukraine after Russia had been invading it, and they had to get to Paris, and then they had all their money robbed by the Russian ambassador who was supposed to help them, and then they ended up being kicked out of France because they were Jewish and put on this thing to Chile. They get to Chile, she's pregnant, she has this hermaphrodite baby, and like, what the fuck is going on? Next thing, an indigenous man walks into the theater where they're playing. He's like, wow, it's the savior. He's going to bring glory and peace to our people. La, la, la. And then they live in this virtual paradise for 6 months while your man is gathering the troops, and they're going to fight against the proletariats, and they're going to rise up and kill the man and have peace and unity on the planet. And then just at the last fucking moment, then the Indian turns around with the army and shoots them point blank with a cannonball, and is like, ha ha, this whole time I was a British spy. And that's just like 5 pages.
All right, yeah. That's just
the book is crazy.
Yeah, that's just the opening paragraph.
The book is crazy. Right. What's it called? Where the birds sing best. I think that's the name of it.
Of course, yeah. Cool. What's it? Peter Kingsley comes in and goes, caw, caw,
ducky, caw, caw.
Yeah.
Elijah Wood. Anyway, that's a good film too. Everything's illuminated.
The Chesney Hawk autobiography story. Yeah, I have seen it. It's pretty good.
Did you watch the sport thing I sent you?
No, I didn't. I've so much on my list, and it's like, there's so much. You see, there's that thing as well. You have to find it. If I'm going to be sitting down and watching something and I'm on my own, I'm going to watch something that Vanessa wouldn't be into or doesn't care about. So that's like kind of something that we could maybe watch together. But she's watching these Married at First Sight stuff at the minute, and I'm just sitting reading. And, it's never the twain shall meet, I suppose. Yeah, you enjoy your weird Australian programs that aren't true. And I'll read about Madame Blavatsky and all her stories that aren't true. Right? And then we'll be happy. And then the wee man in the middle pretending he's Batman. I mean, come on, this is life.
Do you think her influence is kind of do you think it should be more? Do you think it should be recognised as more than what it is?
Who's this? Who?
Blavatsky.
Do I think she should be right? Yeah, I mean, it's like she essentially was one of the main voices, like in the way that you have Crowley, Golden Dawn, Israel Regardie, all of these that are seen as the main. She's more than, or she's as much as Crowley anyway. But more than, like, you know, they should bring in the whole kind of east to the west and all of that. But, you know, consider the fraud. Also a woman and a Ukrainian woman, it turned out.
Did she do much for, like, was she... Like, what is the practice of theosophy? Is it just kind of philosophy, basically? Like, there's no ritual stuff, like in Thelema or...
Well, it's meditation, like that thing, but there is a kind of a magic practice, but not in the same way as Thelema or Thelema, whatever it is, or Golden Dawn. There's no Enochian in it or whatever. But it's... I suppose the main kind of thing behind it is that it's an evolutionary process rather than a mistake, which is mostly what is, you know, or a trap, or it's a prison, or this is... And it's that it's a thing playing up all over the universe and kind of situating you within a hierarchy, that it's not just you and God, that there's all of these things going on in the middle. And one way I kind of look at it, I remember when I was learning guitar when I was a teenager or whatever, and there's kind of the way you kind of, or I was kind of looking at, my friends were kind of looking at, there was like us and then, you know, the top 5 guitar players in the world. And the thing was that if you practice enough and you were talented enough or lucky enough, you'd be as good as Kirk Hammett. And you know, that was the only kind of, it was you. And then the next stage was like, you were either shit or you were as good as Kirk Hammett. And then you kind of meet more people who are also learning guitar, and you realise that there's like 10,000 million people who are on this various stages between you and Steve Vai or whoever it is. And it's kind of, that thing about theosophy kind of situated me in the same way, that it was kind of feeling like it was like you, 3 other people, and Crowley, you know what I mean? Or God, or Jesus, or whatever it is. But then it kind of, the whole thing is that they're so, theosophy, it's like there's all these other guitar players, all these other musicians who are in various kind of stages, from masters to nobodies to people who aren't even aware. And that was kind of, I found that kind of revealing, or, you know, good to kind of place yourself in a more of a hierarchical scheme. Is it in kind of like a communistic kind of way? Is that like we're all in this together? You can read it that way, but you could also read it in a kind of, which a lot of people do, which is one of the main kind of rebuttals of theosophy, or the concerns about it, is you could see it as hierarchical in the bad way, in that, you know, in a kind of a caste way, you know, like not quite the same words, that I'm more advanced than you, which is, from my reading of it, is an uncharitable view of theosophy, because it's not saying that. There's a good lecture by Pablo Sender where he's talking about the root races, which is the problematic kind of part of theosophy for a lot of people, in that, you know, there's different races and different levels of spiritual advancement. But he kind of explains it well in that to kind of look at, say, that we're the 5th sub-race of the 5th race of the 4th round, right? That's where we are at the minute. It's not to say that we're better than the other people, because we're all the people. You know, we were the people in Atlantis, if, you know, they believe in Atlantis as being an old thing. And that kind of thing, that we can't all think we're on the same level anyway. And as we talked about before, that you can't equate yourself thinking you're as good as an accountant, you know, given that they've gone and studied it and have learned about it. And, you know, you can't go, well, you can't say that you're a better accountant than me just because you studied it. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't say you're better at spiritual things than because you've spent 50 years learning at spiritual things and I've never done anything about it. You can't say that, because it's the implications that you're saying you're a better person or a better thing, more important, more deserving, which is not the thing. Well, not my reading of it anyway. But ultimately it's a non-dual thing, yeah. But that the God is so far unfathomable that it's, you know, that there's parts of even the masters, which they call them the Mahatmas more than masters, have only a certain knowledge of what it is. They can guess at what the next stage is, but they're like nowhere near knowledgeable enough or aware enough to know, you know, God or whatever. But this is a non-dual thing. But the masters are happy to try and get you into their club as well, like. Well, the masters are the equivalent of the, let's see if I can pronounce it, Bodhisattvas. No, Bodhisattvas. Yes, well done, Tony's brain.
Yeah.
So that's it. So they're the people who haven't gone on to the next stage, who have remained in order to help.
In order for everyone else to go on. Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of where their situation. But that's like the Masters is a terrible name because they're still within the evolutionary process. They're still taking initiations. They're still trying to work to the next thing.
Should have given them a name that meant nothing, like President.
I don't think they ever called. Well, they called themselves. I think they called themselves Mahatmas. Maybe not. I don't think they give themselves as names. That was
Mahatma has a different meaning. Mahatma means doesn't it literally translate as like a great man or great
something like that. You have Mahatma Gandhi and stuff like that. So it could be like I don't know, without or something equivalent to Your Highness or something. It's still going to be seen as you're not calling. I'm not getting called a Mahatma. You know what I mean? Like it's reserved for something. But I do like it, and I kind of it's the interest in exploring it, knowing I don't have to believe it. You know what I mean? Or I can kind of accept it. Go, well, what is this thing? What is it? And some of it resonates, some of it isn't, and you kind of that's okay. And but there's I'm the expansionness of my view. I'm enjoying.
Look, that was one of my problems with Thelema that I can admit to now. I was afraid I'd like it.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. What if I want to be like Crowley?
Because I have such an issue in my head with the Kanye West problem, I call it. Makes good music. Arsehole.
Yeah.
Not anymore. It doesn't make good music anymore. It hasn't in quite a while. But anyway, still stands. I was afraid that I'd read those books and think, oh yeah, this is totally for me. Whereas now I'm like, I'll read them and I'll get the understanding of it, and that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like it's even coming from that kind of stuff, being able to read something that you don't agree with and be okay with it. Like it's that. Yeah. It's the Magick.
I'm not going to buy a Ben Shapiro book though.
No, well, no. Yeah, no, neither am I. But I'm also, if it's relevant to something, I'm not going to not read it if it's just because it's Ben Shapiro. Yeah, but so it's the Magick thing or whatever. Where I heard looking just to see, not to confirm. It's like not reading a book in order to confirm the ideas about the world that you already have. It's like, what is this person saying? But not necessarily having to agree with it. But a lot of the theosophy stuff, I'm kind of like, I was going to say I agree with it. I don't agree with it because it's unfalsifiable. You can't know if this is true or not. Sure. Unless you've had, the certain experiences. But I go, right, I like it as a worldview. How's that? That's probably the best. And it's something that I can situate myself within. Yeah. With the caveat, people out there, I understand the problematic nature of theosophy. Don't get me wrong. It's like the same as saying Thelema. I can, I like it as an idea. I understand all the things that go with that, and I'm not, not saying that therefore Crowley's a great person. We should all, try to be like him or whatever. He's just a shitty person.
Yeah.
A lot of good things to say about other things. It's the John Lennon thing. Yeah, he's a shitty person. Great music.
John Lennon too. Yeah, maybe George Harrison wasn't that bad.
Well, he certainly liked women and probably wasn't the best. Thing? But probably was to his wife. Probably.
Probably, yeah.
He was a coke addict. He was, all that. But and that's not when I say, and I always kind of say this as well. That's not to excuse any of the behaviour of Crowley. It's fine. It's not fine. It's just. You have to at some point, engage with these things, and you're always going to come across something that you disagree with, that you find fundamental. Given that it's, whatever it is, 100 years ago, 80 years ago since he died, it's a different generation, different thing, and we hopefully have learned from there, and people in 100 years' time are going to look back at this podcast and be absolutely horrified by some of the very innocuous things we think we're saying. But it's just because culture moves on. And that's exactly. Again, not to excuse us, because we are probably wrong in what we're saying now. But we don't know.
You ever watch any old episodes of Friends? Like, it's full of homophobia and transphobia.
But we were watching Cheers recently, and it's really good. But oh my God, the homophobia is unbelievable. It's like, how is this like, the way they took some of the Always Sunny in Philadelphia episodes off Netflix. It's like, how is Cheers on Netflix? There's no way they should be on Netflix. But at the same time, should be on Netflix because it's part of our culture, it's part of our history, it's what we did, it's how we learned, and we can look at it now and go, oh right, so we have progressed a bit here. Like
we were wrong there.
Yeah, very, very badly wrong. Yeah. But they thought they were just being funny at the time, and it's like, again, not to excuse it, but it's not to do it now, is unexcusable. To do it then is possibly not understandable, that's too strong, but within context, I can see how it happened, why it happened.
Yeah, it was different.
Yeah.
Different times. Like, it's not to excuse everything, but
yeah.
but it is and it isn't excusing it.
It's like that thing that you see about, like, so Will Smith, Chris Rock, that whole stuff, whatever. And then you see the footage of the Native American woman going up at the Oscars and saying, will you please stop, lampooning us in your films? And John Wayne's laughing at her, everyone's booing. And you're going, what? Yeah. That's a thing that happened on telly that everyone probably agreed with at the time.
John Wayne was an awful person.
An awful by all accounts.
He was real bad, so he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was part of that fake communist hunt that was
the
McCarthy stuff.
Yeah.
And that woman who ran one of the magazines. There's a mad story to all that.
But then there's that whole thing on Twitter trying to cancel John Wayne, and it's like going, right, okay, he's a shitty person, whatever. He's also dead. What are you going to do? Take his money off and try and get him to lose his job? Or, his grandkid. No, what's the point in punishing them for it? Yeah, they didn't do it. Yeah, they're a privileged position because they're earning from it. I'm sure they're not doing as well as you think from John Wayne's movies, considering what do you call him? George Michael made about 4 cents out of the first 10 years of Wham. So, I mean, I'm sure John Wayne didn't have a great contract, in fairness. Maybe he did. I don't know. I'm just trying to be funny more than anything. But yeah. What would the KLF do, Spud?
What would the KLF do?
Yeah.
They would probably put statues up of Blavatsky,
John Wayne and Blavatsky and John Lennon.
They would have John Wayne and the little Native American woman.
Yeah.
And doing sexy things to each other.
Yeah.
That's what they would do, the KLF. And there'd be shopping trolleys as well, obviously.
Yeah. And something on fire, definitely. Okay, so there was a new documentary released last week called Who Killed the KLF? And the director guy is interesting. That thing you posted was really interesting.
Guardian article, it's great.
So what's his name? Let me give me some context here. Chris Atkins. He made a previous documentary and he used some weird tax loophole, dodgy scheme thing to fund it and ended up going to prison for 5 years, which is, in and itself probably would make a good documentary. But he says it was great because he actually managed to get some free time to edit this documentary without drink, without distractions, without friends, whatever. It's
like that thing Stephen King says that about, like, if you want to write a book, like, book a hotel in the shittiest place where there's nothing to do, you'll write your book. It's like, I'm going to prison.
Yeah.
All right.
Stephen King also used to book into hotels in the middle of nowhere and take excessive amounts of cocaine to write his books. So,
fair point.
So Chris Atkins, anyway, he his mate smuggles him in a laptop into this prison anyway, and he starts editing it and put it together. And he seems to have laid out the entire movie without any of the footage or any. He had the kind of narration of it or thing of it while he was in prison. And when he came out, he talked to the two boys and goes, I want to make this documentary. Are you interested? And they went, no.
Nope.
And then subsequently made legal moves to try and get the documentary not happen, not released or whatever, but obviously weren't successful because, as he describes in that Guardian article, you can use people's music in documentary if it's seen as being in a way that you are critiquing it. Yeah. Which is interesting. I'm sure you still have to pay royalties, whatever, but you can't be stopped.
Well, no, you don't on YouTube. I mean, when I used to do documentary reviews, that's it. Like, just saying it's a review. So.
Yeah, but if you look at even the trailer of Who Killed the KLF, all of the music has been cut and has been that thing that YouTube does. Where
really? Yeah.
Yeah. So. I don't know. I don't know. Unless it's just
they obviously regret that thing of deleting their.
Well, did it? Well,
which they didn't really do anyway. They said they did, but they only did it for certain countries. Actually,
stop spoiling the good story with your facts. How dare you? Anyway, after 20 years, it's back on Spotify and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so seemingly, before the documentary came out, Bill and Jim from the KLF called up Chris and says, we'll meet you for a coffee shop. In the same coffee shop that they told him to piss off previously, and said they've seen the documentary and they think it's brilliant. while I'm okay, I assume that might have happened, I also think it's Chris going from his, what would the KLF say about this? And perhaps is not being fully true. I don't know if it's true or not. Because he said, I don't know how to see it because, no one had a copy of it. So unless the KLF are, of course, more in league with Satan and have access to things that the mortals don't have. So that's kind of the background to it, of the documentary. The background to the KLF is... this is one of the things that got you into Chaos Magic was the KLF, essentially, wasn't it? That kind of, when we were doing the podcast originally, that it was the John Higgs book.
Yeah, John Higgs book of just and yeah, just like this partnership between Jimmy Cauty and Jimmy
Bill Drummond.
Bill Drummond, yeah, just this partnership of. What's the word I'm looking for?
Insanity?
No. It's this. John Higgs explains it really well. He says that Bill Drummond is like he's like the first card in the tarot. He's
the fool.
Number 0. He's the fool. He's the first step. Not into initiation. What's the spontaneity is the word I'm looking for. And that's what I love about the KLF is that the relationship and their music is built on spontaneity, and it's like. Mixing crappy ABBA records and then putting like a drum and bass beat over it. Just go, yeah, that sounds good. And just going with it.
Yeah.
Whereas like a lot of people be like, I don't like that. But, I don't know, sorry. Like, if there was a moment where it was like, I don't like that, then they would have taken it out. But because they both like it and they push it on.
Yeah.
They push it on and they push it on and they just keep pushing. Fucking love that. It's such a cool thing in art.
They used the sample from ABBA and ABBA didn't want them to use the sample. And they had to destroy all the records. So they said, well, what's the most cool way we can do this? Throwing it off the back of a ship. Everything is full, and everything is ritualistic and everything is for show. And it's all...
Drive to Sweden. They're throwing it off the back of a boat. They get to Sweden. It's 4:00 in the morning. Hello, record company, can you let us in? And obviously there's fucking no one there. Yeah. So they find this blonde prostitute. Give her the records. And then they're like, oh, we're not allowed to use them, so you can have them. Spot with this blonde Swedish prostitute just goes, just like, I don't fucking know what's going on. And then the next morning, they wake up beside a field and the two boys are burning records in a cornfield.
Yeah, because that's what you do. That's what you do in that situation. It's the ideal way to deal with that situation. If you're Bill Drummond and Jim Cauty. So I suppose a bit of background on KLF for people who don't really know is that Bill Drummond was in bands, a band big in Japan for about a year, and then started managing bands like Teardrops Explodes and Echo and the Bunnymen. Echo and the Bunnymen were quite a big band, like
they were a big band, yeah.
So it's not just kind of these unknown bands. And Teardrops
really
Explodes,
really good.
Yeah. But he was obviously a terrible manager because although I've been in bands with managers who seem to also make bunny ears on maps for the way to work their tours. You're going from one end of the country to another. May as well have been pentagrams, Dingled, Belfast. So you kind of get thrown into the management end of things, but I suppose his limitations were quite evident. He writes an awful lot about that in the book, the 17 as well, which is if you want to know about his music incursions at that time. But what he says and what was kind of emerging out of all of that was that he was more interested in the myth making of a band, the kind of the story of the band, rather than, I suppose, in a way, the music. But I suppose when you're the manager, you don't have to worry about the music. Echo and the Bunnymen are going to worry about the music. You worry about the videos, the PR, but more than just marketing. I don't think don't think what he was thinking necessarily marketing. It was more mythos and mystery and all of that kind of. So he kind of got into that, but then he kind of something happens where he just gets so bored with all of music on a New Year's Eve, 1986, I think it is, and he just goes, "That's it. I'm done with music."
Right.
January the 1st, 1987. He starts the KLF. Well, he does. It's the Justified Ancients of Moo at the time. So he rings up Jimmy. I just knew him. I knew he'd be into this. I knew he'd get it. We're doing this. Grand.
Yeah. Let's make hip hop.
Yeah, let's make a hip hop record. And this is them to make the ABBA, Beatles. What the fuck is going on? Who's that? The Jam? Is it the Jams? No, whatever they're called.
Kick Out the Jam.
Kick Out the Jams.
MC5.
MC5. Yes. Well done, Spud's brain. So it did well enough, I think. Like it got to the music magazine started hearing it, and because they were also doing kind of weird graffiti stuff. So the guy who was going on his way.
Oh yeah, to get it into the NME, wasn't it?
So on his way to the office, he seen all these posters that they had put up, and then when he went in, there was an envelope with the same artwork on it. And so he went, great. What a move. What a move.
Genius.
Yeah. And so he wanted it a single of the week, had an argument with everyone, because you can't have a single of a week for a single that people can't buy. And he went, no, you can. Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. And so they got interviewed, and that it was kind of kicked off from that, and then got in trouble for using sampled. Well, it's not really sampled. They literally used the song.
It's the whole song.
It's the whole
Dancing
song.
Queen. Like, yeah.
It's like Dancing Queen with someone like a toddler scraping over it, going every 35 seconds or something.
Yeah, and a bit of a mid 80s hip hop groove to it. Like that's all it is. Like it's ABBA with an 80s hip hop beat.
One of the responses when they were being sued is that they announced that ABBA had joined the Justified Nations. But Bill's big kind of influence is the Illuminatus trilogy, which is the Robert Anton Wilson Robert Shaw book that is that I've still not finished. I mean, I've been reading that book 20 years at this point. At some point I will. I started again with the audiobook. I go, yes, and I got them. I'll sit down and I'll do it. And is it
that hard to follow?
No, it's not. It's just mad, but it's not even mad in like it's a proper story to it. And it's not off the wall, and it's not it's surreal, but it's not. It makes sense. Like there's a story to it. It's quite long, and it's one of those kind of audiobooks that you have to listen to. You can't have on. If you drift out, there'll be a detective talking about a body in an office, and you drift out for 20 seconds, and you're on an island. Women, and you can. What? How did I end up here? I just made a cup of tea. That's literally all I did. Now I've no idea what's going on, but I will go back to it. I know Mark did as part of his book club at one stage, so people are still reading it. Yeah,
this film makes me want to read it. Of all the KLF films I've watched, this is the one that now makes me want to read.
The guy who did the stage play is the guy who reads the audiobook. So you can either his voice. Some people really dislike his voice. I quite like it. I can't remember his name offhand. But so this is a huge influence on Bill Drummond. So he essentially wants to live his life as as an expression of the Illuminatus. But
is that the idea of the Illuminatus book? Is that life is an expression of art?
Yeah, but it's kind of it's like it's very Robert Anton Wilson. It's very kind of bizarre, and it's very kind of that whole thing when you think of Bill Drummond and the kind of notions he had of those things he does is very Illuminati, like that kind of
this impulsive creative nature,
free flowing, doing things to the end. It's like that great line in this documentary where it's going, when you're in a pub and you have a crazy idea, then you wake up the next day and go, oh, that was a crazy idea, glad I didn't do it. Bill Drummond did it. He's gone and done it to do it completely. But we should both read it and then we can talk about it. That'd be something. But so I know. I said I've never finished. I got as far as into the second book. That's the most I've ever got. But I will.
I presume each book is 300-400 pages, so it'll take a while.
How about hold on, it's here. I'll show you. Please don't fall on me, books.
Delicate. Bang.
So it's like.
Oh, so it's all in one. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not too bad, but Robert Shea, he doesn't get as much mention in it when people talk about it. I suppose that's just an art circle. So I think he was also one of the editors in Playboy. I think that's where it came out of.
That's where they became mates. Yeah.
Where was that? Bill Drummond. Yeah. So when he got into the KLF, this was kind of his modus operandi for the entire of the KLF, even to the point when they came back in 2023, not in 2023, when they wrote the book 2023, 23 years after the money burning incident. It's essentially their version of Illuminatus, which I got about 10 pages into before I had to stop.
Yeah, I've heard it's not great.
Yeah. I guarantee there's spelling mistakes in it as well.
But come here, they don't really say it in the doc. They have the two chaps that started Discordianism. What's the link between them and the Illuminatus books? I don't remember.
Just that Robert Anton Wilson is a big fan, as far as I know.
He just liked the crack that they were up to. Okay, all right.
That's my understanding. There may be something more, but that's just kind of that he was influenced by it. Which is still, like, Discordianism's. How could you not be?
I think in John Higgs' book, I think there are some kind of weird synchronicity connections, like someone worked in the same office as a sister, and that's where they were printing stuff originally, or there is some other loose kind of weird.
Well, that's the great thing about John's Higgs book. That one, it just
such a
goes off into all of these.
All his books are just amazing. You know what I mean? He's the man. He's such a brilliant way. Love the way he thinks and just puts a million things together. And
gets puts everything in context. Everything fits everything, and can go off on the most weird tangent. And by the end of it,
like your man you mentioned earlier, the Swedenborg thing. Like, just like he's talking about William Blake, and he's like, William Blake, and he would have agreed with Swedenborg was a big deal at the time. He would have agreed with him on this. But to be honest, we have to learn every single thing
about Swedenborg
possible about Swedenborg. So we'll put William Blake aside here, and for a whole chapter, we'll just go and talk about Swedenborg. And it's genius.
Yeah, but then when you come back and he talks about William Blake, it's like as if he picks up from the same sentence where we left William Blake, and you go, all right, I understand. Right, away we go. So it's not just kind of, gratuitous. It's like, right, brilliant. That's exactly what I needed to know about why Blake was into Swedenborg. Or agreed on.
And there's Mumu, Mumu, Ancients of Mumu.
Yeah.
I know it comes from Discordianism, from Illuminatus books, but did they get it from Ireland? Because Mumu was the first name of Munster.
No, I assume it's from the Illuminatus. Oh, did the Illuminatus get it from? Possibly, yeah. Robert Anton Wilson did live in Ireland for a while, but that's subsequent. It's not. But he must have been interested enough in Ireland to. Yeah, because there's Mumu is Kerry, isn't it? That's the.
Yeah, Mumu
we've seen a map.
Kerry, yeah. Then again, he had this whole thing. He had the bunny man. Who was his
the Puka
or something?
Yeah, Puka,
He's mental. Robert Anton Wilson. Jesus Christ.
Brilliant.
His books are. The books,
Cosmic Trigger.
3 books, the trilogy, Cosmic Trigger. Jesus, they're great.
Oh, I wish you'd release the third one as an audiobook.
Yeah.
Because the first 2 ones are really good.
We should, yeah. What happens then? Doctor Who song. They were fucking around.
Yeah. Let's have a hit. Let's make it a number 1. I don't even think they're never even thinking that. I don't think they're ever thinking, despite what they say afterwards, let's be successful. It's like, this is what is coming out. This is what we're doing. We went in on a Monday, started fucking around with this thing. Tuesday was released, and then the following Monday we were number 1. Or something like that. But and then made millions from this stupid record.
Crap song. No one liked.
What is the biggest mistake that rock stars make when they make money? Is they make a movie. So let's do that, and then they lose all the money because they do. Because that's what's going to. The White Room's it's a great background movie to have on at like a party or something like that. But it is essentially them just traveling around.
Yeah.
But they end up in heaven at the end of it, and in the White Room. So it's not. Well, the edit I've seen seems to have more of a complete feel than what they would have done. It's on YouTube. You can get it in 4K and everything. It's there. It's definitely worth sticking on when you're, I don't know, working for doing some WordPress background stuff or whatever. Because the music's in it as well.
Because when they put out when the Doctor Who song had done so well, they put out a book called The Manual. There's footage of Bill Drummond. He's like, we will guarantee. We'll give your money back if you do not have a number 1 hit.
It's great, but what's really good about this documentary is that an awful lot of stuff that the show on it, all of those little TV clips, are on YouTube, but in shit quality. So they seem to have sourced all the proper things for it. So that one where he's been interviewed about the manual, there's a great line in that. I don't think it's in the documentary, but it's in the original interview. Where your man goes, "You're wearing a fake moustache, Bill. Why is that?" He says, "This is just what I'm going to do for TV now." And then in the next interview, he is still wearing it in all the TV things. Just what I'm going to do. Yeah. Today I'm going to be known as King Boy D. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just brilliant. It just gladdens my heart. That's all I can say.
There's the thing about the Edelweiss hip hop group as well. It was like, so when the Doctor Who thing was, I don't remember now. It would have been fairly shortly after it was done anyway. And they were like, yeah, we're this Austrian hip hop group. We're going to have yodeling. And the lads like, what the fuck? And they're like, look, here, just buy the manual, buy the book. You'll be grand. Like, And the next thing, a couple of weeks later, they ring back a few weeks later, and they just sold like 5 million records. This Edelweiss song, which I've heard 100 times in Austria. At least, like, it's awful. you know.
But from Sound of Music originally, isn't it? Edelweiss.
It's yodeling. Yeah, well, Edelweiss is it's a town, isn't it? It's a village.
Oh, there's
a beer. There's an Edelweiss beer. It's a Weiss beer, like Paul Anna. What's the other one? The Munich one. Bavaria.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Weiss beer. Erdinger.
Humdinger. Yeah. It's lovely.
Chesney Hawks.
But yeah, Chesney Hawks. But I've heard the song a million times, and I've always thought, geez, this song's terrible. But now that I know there's a bit of background KLF in it, now I'm going to love it forever.
Yeah.
It's going to have a special. But they sold 6 million copies of that.
Yeah, man.
It's ridiculous.
I'm saying at one point that the KLF were just getting hundreds of £1,000s a week. This still isn't the KLF yet. They're called the Time Lords. And brilliant, they said, well, actually, who is the Time Lords? Well, it's the car. The car used to turn up in the studio and tell us what to do. So the whole video was the car going around like it's the lead singer. Excellent. So I think does the KLF actually happen next then?
That's when it would have started then with the whole island tour thing and all that, wouldn't it?
So they invite all these I was going to say politicians, that would have been much better. All of these reporters and journalists, don't tell them where they're doing. They have to bring their passports and they bring them to an island in Scotland, which is the island right next door to the island where the subsequent event happens. And they stamp their passports, which is illegal. And it can cause you a lot of hassle. Someone goes, I nearly didn't get into America because of this. But they have a whole kind of Burning Man festival type equivalent, or Wicker Man festival, I suppose. And there was a Quality Street tin of ecstasy passed round. And they had so many speakers that people on islands.
People on the next island.
On the next island started complaining. That sounds like a Father Ted episode. I hear you're on the E now, Father. And then what is it? After the next day, they're all flown back and have to watch a play or something. They make them go and see something else. It's like, oh, come on, I just want to go home, man.
I'm
have
dying
to watch
with an ecstasy hangover here. Let me go home. I need a cuddle. Leave me alone.
And
there's one woman met her future husband out of it.
Yeah.
3 of their kids have KLF.
Yeah.
Their names.
Was it? What does KLF stand for? Kissless for foot. Case Liberation Front. Copyright. What was it?
Copyright Liberation Foundation.
Federation. Kingless for what was the F though in it? I can't remember.
King KLF. For forever.
Yeah. So it's like every time they're asked, they give a different thing. But when they got to the island and they were doing the Wicker Man thing, Bill Drummond gets up in a hood and a big horn. The whole thing speaks in a language he's just making up as he goes along, and it's wonderful. It's just.
This is bizarre.
Yeah.
Real bizarre stuff. But
funny. That's the thing. It's like because it's bizarre for bizarreness. So it's very Discordian. That's why it's really Discordian. It's that kind of. Humour, messing with things, messing with people's minds, but not in any sort of malicious way. It's not trying to fuck people up. It's not trying to troll people. It's not trying to. Yeah. It's just get you out of your mind or get you ready. This
isn't Edward Bernays trying to make women smoke around. You know?
No. It's like influence people to be free rather than to be contracted or into the way to think for themselves and to get out of their bubbles. That's how I see it. Anyway, it's like there's another way of doing this that isn't contraction, and it isn't Edward Bernays and the last 100 years. And so what happens next? Jeez. The Tommy Wynette one is
Tommy Wynette is the next thing I've written down. That story's class. Yeah.
Do you want to tell us?
They were doing. They were kind of saying that like every song we were doing was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and shit, like we didn't really know what to do. So they're in the squat and they're messing with this song, and Jimmy Cauty then just says, "Do you know what this song needs?" "No, what's that?" "Tommy Wynette." Okay, I guess the phone out. 3 or 4 phone calls later, he's got Tommy Wynette on the phone. He's like, "Yeah, Tommy, we're big fans of yours. We're 2 DJs in the okay, we'd love to record some lyrics for this. And he's like, yeah, no problem. And 2 days later, he's getting collected by the husband in this blue Jag, getting driven down to Tammy Wynette's fucking mansion.
Yeah.
Walking in, and it's this palace, and she's upstairs with like a couple of makeup artists, full time. That's their job for Tammy Wynette. And then Bill has to sit down in front of her fucking grand piano. Like he lives in a squat.
He's also a millionaire at this point, though, but he does live in a squat.
He's sitting down at his grand piano and he's all nervous. And then Tammy can't perform properly because she's so used to playing with her band. She's not used to
her band are so used to her shitness.
Yeah, exactly. Her band are so good and so patient with her not being able to sing in time that they adjust the speed of the song at every performance. But Bill isn't that good a piano player, so he can't. And he's like, he gets back to England. He's like, everything's fucked. It's all fucked. Fucking wasted our money. It's shit. What are we going to do? And then one of the new lads who was in there kind of... That'd be an interesting documentary. The boys who were in the actual band behind them. There's 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, there's a number of them.
But anyway, so he says that one of these lads had just gotten a new sampler where it's like, and he says, look, this is normal nowadays. You can just...
Yeah, you can... If that's happened now...
Even I know how to do these.
Yeah, you just open up Audacity and you're away.
It's simple. Yeah. And but like back then, just cutting edge, So
and it certainly wouldn't have been easy because there wouldn't have been any visual representation of it. It would have been like a hardware sampler that they were doing it on.
Yeah,
it would have been a bit of skill involved rather than warping and stretching.
And your man's like, yeah, I can do that.
You definitely can't hear it on the record.
No, not at all. And it's their best song, I'd say.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's definitely the most known. But it's the one that I like. I'm not hugely into the KLF music. I like it now because I like them, and I kind of when I hear it, it makes me feel good because of association rather than.
Well, I like what's the Trancy album, the soft background.
But the White Room, that stuff, isn't it?
White Room, I like that. But this is I think this is a great song.
Yeah.
It's just mental.
Yeah.
Then the words of it, the words of it are like she tells the story what happened. She's like, they called me up in South LA and they come and. Tammy, we need you on a song because the song's crazy and they're the Ancients of Moo Moo and I haven't a fucking clue what's going on.
Yeah.
Basically.
And they drive an ice cream van. So, yeah. But that's the thing. It's so absurd and mental, but it's really good. It's produced really well. It's quality. It's not just something thrown together. It's number one. It's like it resonates with loads of people. And they obviously have loads of money because the video is high budget. But the great thing is they've no manager. They've no one telling them no. In one way, it's great that they've no one telling them no, that they've no. And so they get both royalty checks, the management, the record company and themselves. So they're making all the money. Which is interesting in that kind of place where they're hugely successful. Biggest band in the world, with the biggest selling singles band in the world that year. No management, no one say no, whatever. Whereas like when you look at something like the Beatles, when their manager died, and they're trying the same thing but are not good at it. They're useless at it. They don't have whatever it is that Bill and Jim seem to have where they can get stuff together and make it. But both the Beatles and the KLF made the exact same mistake where they go, we thought we could get in the car and drive around and something, make a road movie, but nothing interesting happened, which is exactly the same mistake that the Beatles made with Magical Mystery Tours. They said, we get a load of people on the bus and drive around and see what happens. Nothing does.
Nothing happened.
So it's like there's an interesting kind of echo in that when you're let do whatever you want, don't get in a car, don't go on and make a movie and think something will happen because it won't. It just doesn't. Historically, it doesn't happen. Yeah.
They start getting annoyed then with how good they are, with how they start getting annoyed with how accepted they've become because they were always doing it. Well, we're the outsiders, we do what we want.
Thought to be underground,
punk rock, and then it's just like then the Brit Awards comes around and they get this award.
This is so good.
They get this award and it's like best national act or something, but they don't win it outright. They have to share. They have to share it with Simply Red.
I'm like, this is the worst insult you can give any band, any music. It's like, this underground band that thinks they're punk or like all against anti-establishment wins jointly with Simply Red for best
You're
musical
as
act.
good. You're as good. You're not better. You're as good as.
So John Higgs is, well, so this marks the end of the KLF, obviously.
Oh, like that's Simply Red. They must be like they're one of those bands that just everyone hates, like Chris the Berg kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Is there an American version? Will the Yanks get this? Who Simply Red are?
I'm sure Simply Red were big in America. It's kind of like the, which is unfair, I suppose, to Phil Collins, but that kind of thing where people ended up hating him, even though he was hugely popular. There was this. But I think a lot of people, why they hate Simply Red is because of him. Oh my God, Mick Hucknall. He's a face that you definitely want to get up in the Oscars and slap. You know? But I did, in fairness to Simply Red, I've never into them, whatever. I did watch a documentary one time in a hotel, you know, when you have to watch whatever's on about them, and he didn't seem like the worst person in the world. So that's as good as I can give on Mick. Yeah.
So the boys obviously get wind of this, right? And they're not too happy. Yeah. And they're like, right, that's it. We're done with the music business. We're out. How can we piss them off?
Yeah.
So they come with, so at first Jimmy's like, well, I'm going to cut my hand off. I'm going to cut my hand off on stage.
It's Bill who does the
Bill, sorry. Bill is going to cut his hand off. John
Higgs tries to make this thing, well, it's symbolic of like the red hand of Ulster and the king. He's going to Bill was just cutting his hand off because it was mental. and then like, no, tell you what, we'll get buckets of sheep's blood and dead sheep and we'll throw that all over them. And then the lads in the backing band are like, yeah, no, we're all vegetarian. The backing band were called Extreme Noise Terror. Yeah. And they were going to play Ancient Mumu song, but like in like death speed metal. Rah, 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 rah. And which they did. Yeah. And then there was lots of pyrotechnics, and then Bill smuggled in a machine gun filled with blanks. And at the end of the song, and then it's announced the KLF have left the music business. Yeah. And they walk off. There's an overlooked story within this of poor Jimmy Cauty and his his entire life to play this guitar solo. This 20-second guitar solo that he's been practicing his entire life. It's a really good guitar solo, he says. And this was going to be his moment, get up on stage, his final moment in music. Goes to play the guitar solo, and the lead comes out of his guitar. So he spends the 20 seconds he should be looking for the lead. And I mean, I think that says it all. That's just
that's Eris right there. That is Discordianism. That's her right there, just having the crack. That is
just brilliant.
So what happens next, Tommy? After they leave the music business?
Well, they have a spare sheep. Don't forget. So they just drop it at the after party, saying, "I died for your sins" or something like that, attached to it.
Bon appetit.
There is interviews with people at the Brit Awards. I can't remember his name, but you know his head, where he goes, "Well, I thought it was brilliant," you know, and all that. It's just like going, right. KLF have definitely have outstayed their welcome, I suppose. Then they decide that they're an art troupe, but they make an interesting point. She's going like, they're the only band ever in the world to break up that then continued to work together. You know, exclusively. So they become an art organisation or an art. What's the word? It's troupe. Is that art troupe?
Foundation.
Foundation. Yeah, it's the clues in the name, Tom.
K Foundation.
Yeah, the K Foundation. To do things. So they've obviously spare money, and Jimmy makes the point: if we had £1 million in cash that we've already paid tax on, by the way, so it's like it's really ours, and they did this wonderful thing, which I don't understand. So they nail $1 million to a piece of plywood. And they call it whatever, I can't remember what to call it, but they says we're going to sell it for 500,000. But it's interesting. Go, well, you can buy it for 500,000 and immediately make 500,000 if you just destroy the art, or you can wait to see if it goes up in value. This £1 million. So literally, it's £1 million hammer to. It's
bizarre that it wasn't bought, because of course it would have gone up.
Yeah.
Like, they were the biggest band in the world at the time. Of course it was going to do well. Yeah. Like, even, like, who was the next biggest band that came along after that? Like,
Simply Red.
after. No, but say, okay, who was, like,
Well, I mean, then you start getting into grunge. So the next thing is Nirvana and stuff like that, like, isn't it?
Okay,
like
so imagine if Kurt Cobain had done something like that.
Yeah.
Definitely would. But like even like say like the big pop explosion that came after that, like Spice Girls and boy bands and all
Blur,
that.
Oasis, the Britpop
Like
thing.
if any of them had done it,
yeah.
it would have exploded as well. And it's bizarre that it didn't happen for them.
Well, they couldn't get it in a gallery. Your man's going to
bizarre.
Yeah, that's
totally mental.
Didn't they move to Ireland for some reason and go around with a bag of £1 million? I was like,
they wanted to do it, and they were like, yeah, look, lads.
Ireland in the 90s.
You do not want English people going around with a lot of money in Ireland in the 90s.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
So that kind of goes nowhere, and they're kind of I just think that was genius, and and no, they do. They then have their own gallery in the middle of nowhere or something, like just down the pub, and they put it up. But then there was a vote. So the Turner Prize is announced to who won the Turner Prize. I can't even remember her name, to be honest. Remember when the Turner Prize was like, it was something that was
relevant.
Yeah, like people talked about it. I remember like even my mum knew about it, like that kind of not that my mum was uncultured, but I mean more that it's, if your mum knows about this thing, then
yeah, I get you.
Around that time, it was I was thinking, no, I think I assume it still happens. I have no idea. But it was a thing people talked about.
It was 20 grand. Was the prize.
So she won.
Seems nothing.
Voted for the best artist. Now, I that modern art stuff, and she has the bed and stuff like that, and people laugh about it. I can have an appreciation of stuff like that, because I remember seeing a piece of art. We were watching a documentary, and it was basically an office table, monitor, ashtray, computer, whatever, and Finesse went, "That's bullshit," and I went. Now, here's the thing, and I was going like, what if this is him trying to recapture the exact moment he found out that his dad had died? And she went, yeah, that. I goes, well, it's not, like. I just totally made that. But it has completely changed the art for you, completely. And she's going, oh, wow, no, So, I mean, maybe there is the bedroom where she literally takes her bedroom and puts it in, filthy bedroom. And you go, right, it's a documentation of my life, whatever. So I can get behind it.
I don't mind any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
But obviously the KLF thought it was arty, and there was a public vote that I think 2 people only voted in, where she was also voted the worst artist of the year, and their prize was 40,000.
40,000 grand, yeah. And double what she was been given.
And if she didn't collect it, they were going to burn it. And she doesn't collect it, and they kind of hesitantly don't burn it, and then she kind of turns up.
Yeah, she shows up at the last minute. Yeah.
And John Higgs makes a point of that if they had burned it at the Tate Gallery at that time, it would have been a very different story. But what actually happens is they end up looking a bit like a joke and people start getting annoyed with them and kind of, who are these idiots? And so the absurdity kind of twists a bit round on them. And if this is interesting about this documentary, compared to the John Higgs book, is that it starts to have a slightly down view on the KLF at this point, in that they're starting to get a bit bored or something, or they're not really, they don't know what to do, they're a bit lost. Whereas in John Higgs books, it's definitely, they're more right up until a bit of where they burned £1 million. It's all planned, they all know what to do. Not planned, that's the wrong word, but there's an energy to it. There's a momentum. Yeah. Whereas in the documentary, kind of suggests
they're riding a wave somewhere.
Yeah, this is fizzling out a bit.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that that kind of taking it. Because definitely in the John Higgs book, it's a journey to that moment. Whereas in this one, it's saying, they're kind of, I don't know, bored millionaires or something, So is that kind of now where they go to the money?
Well, it must have been something with that burning the money thing with this with the 40,000, like, and that
started
that obviously stayed in at least one of their heads.
Because they have
Jimmy
a meeting in the pub where they're sitting and go, well, what do we do?
Talks about this. It's hilarious.
What do we do with this? And the suggestion is, well, we should burn it. And we were going to burn 40 grand. Why not burn it all? He's going, I was hoping the barman would come down and say it.
This is the thing where he says, for you hope that the barman will lean over and just say, lads, it's a bad idea. But the thing is, there was no barman. He's blaming a non-existent barman for burning £1 million.
Yeah.
fucking hell.
But he does mention then, he says at this time things got really, really dark. And he says that possibly only me and Bill only really know exactly how it was or that kind of, which I understand. Like, no one else is going to know what's going on in, you know, a lot of drugs, a lot of money, a lot of mad ideas. You're already Bill Drummond and Jim Cauty. Imagine having infinite resources to indulge all of these things. So eventually they decide, or it's decided for them, that they're going to burn this £1 million. Now, they needed the money. They wanted the money. They weren't rich. I assume an awful lot of the money had gone. They had deleted all their music catalogue at this point, so there was no money coming in. To the point that the distribution company kind of ended as well. You're saying, well, that was kind of the end of us too. You know, so they stopped. They could have had millions coming in, so they're stopping all of that. There is a suggestion, and I've read this in another place, that this £1 million wasn't really theirs either, that it was the K Foundation's money. So they couldn't have bought a house with it, or they couldn't have, it's not that it was, you know, it's like, say you have a limited company, me and you had a limited company, and there's £1 million in that company. I can't buy you a new computer with it. I can't, but you have to do something in the company with it. I don't know how true that is, but that you know, takes a bit of the, I suppose the tabooness out of it, and in that it's not really that, but it is their money because it's their company, but they don't have access to it in the way that you would access to the money in your own account or something. That may or not be true. Someone said that, and I kind of said, oh, that's an interesting take. So anyway, they ring up a journalist's friend and goes, do you want to get in an airplane and fly to Jira tonight? Okay, yeah, fine. Yeah, go and have a lot of drinks, he says, in a hotel, and have a bag with them. But I think he knows it's £1 million, but he doesn't know what they're going to do with it. So they get really hammered, and then he goes to bed. He says, my head had not even hit the pillow, and they're at the door. Right, this is happening. Come on. So they go to the farmhouse, abandoned farmhouse, and the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life happens, where they burn £1 million. And
burn £1 million.
He says, you're watching it, and at the first second you're going, what? And then it's really boring. You know, I can, like, because it probably took ages.
Yeah. It's only a small fireplace.
Yeah.
You know?
And the great thing about this documentary is they've reshot an awful lot of these scenes. So it's not, you know, just the crappy video to have, and, you know, it's two actors playing it, but you know, not so much that you ever see their faces. So it's you could be fooled into thinking an awful lot of the footage in it is from back in the day, but it pieces it all together. It makes it you know, really cohesive.
There's a good one in the article. What was his name? Chris Atkins, have I said? His
Chris
article.
Atkins, yeah.
He talks about the fake money. He says,
yeah.
He had he wanted to to film these shots, and he wasn't quite sure to do it. And then his mum found an old 50, because the denomination has changed over the years, and so she found an old 50. He photocopied a shitload of them and went in to get his car serviced, and left £50,000, what it looked like £50,000 in the glove compartment. The chap comes over and he's like, okay, the car's fine, let me just check everything. He opens up the glove compartment. Sorry, sir, you left, looks like quite a lot of money here. And he's like, yeah, don't worry, it's fake, and just walks off.
He says, I don't think that was a better answer. They're explaining it like, yeah, it's £50,000 fake
it's
money.
fake, it's grand. What? Whoa, I have to ring the cops. No. And that was it, just left it at that. Brilliant.
So next day, there's a police officer is rang. There's a load of money in the water here, and it's all over the place. So he goes down and he finds all this money. He doesn't know if it's real or not, finds where it was burnt or whatever, and goes to the nearest station or the bank. He goes to a bank. He goes, is this real? He goes, yeah.
Money station.
Money station. He goes to the closest money station. Did not pass go. Did not collect 200 quid. And he's saying, yeah, but it's not against the law. He says, you're not allowed to draw on it. You're not allowed to deface it. You're not allowed, but there's no law at the time. He says that you can't burn it, because who would do that? Who would do that? So then it gets a bit weird for the two boys, because they're kind of going, I don't know why we did that. I know we had to do it, and it doesn't feel wrong, and like, but the thing is, what happens in 7 years' time where my child is really sick and there's only one doctor in California that can cure him, and it's costs hundreds and hundreds of grand, and now you can't do that. And yet this is the thing you have to live with. And but they also could have got the money back at this point, because they had the serial numbers. And this is from a different interview. It's actually from Paul Dunn's documentary, which is good. You should watch that as well.
Yeah, it's really good.
We're going, yeah, but what was the point if you're just going to burn it and then just get the money back? You know, so they still at that point could have got the money back. You know, but it's like, we wanted the money. That's the great line. We wanted the money, but we wanted to burn it more. There's something so taboo about that entire event, but also that points to the fakeness of money, of all these weird notions we have around paper and about value and what people are allowed to do with their own money. What, you know, and it's like Joe Elliott. Well, I think you should have built a thing for unemployed boys to record it. Yeah, Joe, you're a millionaire. You could actually do that as well.
You can do it.
Yeah.
Go and do it, Joe.
Yeah. And the disgust by the general Late Late Show audience. That's a great interview as well. The Late Late Show. Gilburn's a great interviewer. He just can't get his head around it. Well, no one can get their head around it. But as Alan Moore points out, and Alan Moore, it's really good in this documentary. He's very coherent. I know he's always coherent, but he's on the ball in this one. And he looks like someone has said, Alan, you should probably maybe clean yourself up a wee bit for this and put your hair back, you know, comb your beard or something. He looks well. But he says, does
look well. He's lost weight. His arms look really thin and all, don't they?
Yeah, he looks good in the BBC Maestro thing as well, that writing class thing. Anyway, it's not about Alan Moore and how well he looks. But he goes, people are outraged, you know, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you give it to charity? Why all this? But what they're really saying is, why didn't you give it to me? Which is the outrage. That is the outrage. Yeah. And certainly the outrage for all the Irish people. All the poor people in this country. And well, you know, they're English anyway and Scottish. So it's, you know, they were never giving it to Irish people. Yeah. And Bill Drummond says, like, there's no less pans of bread in the world. There's no less fruit. There's no less anything. There's just less pieces of paper. But they don't, you know, and they go right.
Well, I don't know, but I think there was a lot of so after they burned the money, they took a year off.
Well, they did
from
the tour,
everything and anything.
Right. Did the tour during that or after it?
No, after a year.
Right.
Then they had some footage that they made on this, like, one of these crappy Super 8 cameras. And then they put out the burning of it as an art film
tour.
And would have it in weird places.
Like Alan Moore's house.
Like Alan Moore's house, for example. And people would come and...
Was Alan Moore's quote? He says, I love films that the entire budget is visible on the screen.
Brilliant, yeah. That's such a great dig against the films that have been made in his name.
Yeah.
But like, I think part of me thinks that was them trying to clear their conscience with it.
Well, you have said that you think it's them buying their soul back from the devil. Like that was your.
Yeah. I think that because I get that from Higgs's book anyway. That's what I think it was. But I also see it that like they did this. I don't think they filmed it to do what they done with it next.
No,
I think they just filmed it because, like, well, we'll have to document this and show that we did it.
Yeah.
Let's do it on a really crappy camera, by the way.
Because I'm sure that's what they had. You know what I mean? Like and we're doing this now, and this is the camera we have. So yeah.
But then, like, they decide, right, we'll put this out as a film and show people that we did it, and then they can ask us why.
Well, they can tell us why.
They can tell us why, because they weren't sure. But also, I think they must have felt so fucking bad about doing it because of the taboo with money that we all have. Every single one of us has it. I think that because they felt so bad about doing it, they had to try and explain it in some way. And so then they said, right, well, we can't explain it. We'll let other people explain it to us. It's like, you know, showing someone your art that you're not particularly happy with, but they might get something out of it and be able to tell you, and then you might be able to go back and fix it, whatever. Or it's, you know, it's like writing an article, giving it to a proofreader or an editor, saying, look, where do I need to fix this? You know? I think that's where it came from, but I don't think they expected the kind of harshness.
No, I also think just to add to that, I think for me this is a magical act. I mean, rather than art, and art is magic equals art, and all that kind of stuff. Or art is definitely a form of magic, and I don't think it's a stunt. And there was a compulsion, and there was something. It's as if there's a third party involved in this incident that's never mentioned. I feel that there's something, and I don't know what that is or why I'm saying it, but that's what it feels like. There's something else. It's like, and that they're kind of going, well, this is it. It's like Hellier, and they're out in a cave, calling up Pan, and they're going, why are we doing this? I don't know why we're doing this. But this is what we're doing, and it's the right thing to do or whatever. And so like when you've done that, you kind of like going, right, will you tell us what it is about? Because we've no idea, but we know it was the thing to do. We know what we had.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but yeah, and what they got was, you're pricks, you're horrible people, you're nasty. And to the point the only time I've ever really seen footage of Bill Drummond wide-eyed, angry at someone, where he obviously someone was giving him jip and he pulls him up on stage and goes, right, come on, say it now, say it to everyone. And he's like angry and just like, but what did they, like...
Yeah, exactly. What did they expect?
Yeah. Did they expect, oh, well, lads, I think what you've done has been culturally amazing and you've taught us all something.
Yeah.
But it's like, I would always say it's the worst taboo. Not that I'm saying it's the worst act, because I certainly don't think it's the worst, but it's the thing that you can say, you can look at Ukraine and all the devastating things that happened this week out of that, and just things I don't even want to think about. And there's outrage and all that and that. But you burn £1 million and you're on the Late Late Show. You know what I mean? And you're in the paper and you're the Antichrist. That's the worst thing to do, because I think it's when there's a despicable act done, say war crime or whatever, it's done, and we can kind of say, well, that's an event that's happened and it's horrible, whatever. When you burn money, you're burning potentiality. You're burning
exactly.
You're not just burning one charity. You're burning £1 million that could have went to infinite amount of charities. So it just seems like you've done so many sins. You know, you could have saved so many people, but you couldn't. You could have saved maybe one person or whatever it is thing, but it could have been this, could have gone anywhere, could have saved the world, you know, Africa, could have been whatever Africa needs. I don't know anymore. I got given out there recently for mentioning Africa. I was saying, no, the West or the main problem, just leave. I'm fine. I was going, well, I don't know if that's true. That's not what I've been told, but I believe you. So yeah, it's like, ultimately, I don't think they know why they did it. And I don't think they're going to be satisfied ever, to the point where it goes, right, we're not talking about this anymore. Which there's kind of a notion that's seen as a cynical move, and they're saying that, oh, well, now it becomes the mystery. Now it becomes saying we're not talking, we're not doing interviews, which I don't think is. I think
it was the only way. They got sick of it. It's the only way to deal with it, and then come up with this number 23, symbolically, and say, and then pushing a new Nissan Bluebird off a cliff is just good crack.
Well, this is our contract. This is the thing. You've seen in that Guardian documentary stuff, the guy whose car it was nearly fell off 3 times off the cliff.
So there can't be many Nissan Bluebirds still able to drive around the world, you know.
But it's kind of
it was my old fella's first car was a Nissan Bluebird, so that's how old they are.
So it kind of paints the picture then of Dove for 20 years and didn't do anything, which is not really true, because they actually seemingly they've done a bit of music around the millennium as well together under, they call themselves 2K, but that doesn't feel like that's adds to the mythos. I don't know if that's true or not. I just literally read that on the reviews this morning. And of course, Jimmy Cauty continues being an artist. Bill Drummond has written 4 books every year since then, or whatever it is, and releases them on a Tuesday at 1:30. And if you're not there by 2:00, you don't get the book, which I think is brilliant. He did all that stuff about the 17, the music that won't be recorded, that is purely performative and purely happens once, which really annoyed Spud. Yeah.
No, I love the idea. I just don't like being made. I just don't like the film of it, because that was annoying. He goes around
he did his 25-year world tour, which he's still in the middle of, where he builds a bed in different locations. So it's not as if they just disappeared for 23 years, which is what the documentaries kind of suggest. But I suppose if it's about the KLF, then the KLF in essence did disappear.
KLF as a band disappeared. I think the idea then is, like, with the title, like, who killed the KLF? I think it's saying that this burning of the money was what killed it. You know? That's what I got, because I was wondering, like, what the fuck's the name got to do with it? Like, you know, well, then it has to be this burning of the money. This is what killed it. You know, and it killed it for the fans, because we all lose respect. I was a fan at the time, but like, they all lost respect for him. They were the darlings of the music magazines. They were the same. Everyone was annoyed with them for what they did, because it's such a.
But it's exactly what the KLF should have done. That, you know, I mean, it's because they've followed their ethos to the end, and the end is to make sure everyone hates them. because that's what the world. Not hates them, but are annoyed by them, or you don't want to be the band who is as good as Simply Red.
Well, I don't know.
You know
Okay. So what is the Discordian?
Oh, the ultimate goal. Yeah, I don't know then. Yeah.
But is it to make you just think differently, believe differently, see things differently?
Is it to be so counterculture? Excuse me, that you become annoying though? Is it that you just excommunicate yourself, or I don't know.
Is that what? But then that's what they did. But like, I don't think that they did. I don't think that they did do. It does for me, but I'm not. I don't know much about Discordians. For me, it doesn't feel like they reached the goal.
No.
You know?
Well, yeah. Well, it depends. It depends on what is the goal.
Maybe it wasn't mine.
I don't know.
Maybe it's all about the journey, man.
Yeah, and like trying to understand it. It's like trying to understand magic, man. I mean, sometimes you just it's not about you. It's not about you.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. It could be. It's like the first time someone reads like a Cormac McCarthy book, they're like, "What the fuck? There's no plot. It's just different days of the week. What the fuck is going on here?" Like,
and I'm really depressed.
But it could be something like that. You know what I mean? Because but then you find that you like.
But it could be because we've talked about this before. That if an alien came down and pointed at something, goes, lads, what is this?
What's that?
It's money? Like a user. It's like, but it's like we can't understand it because we have this relationship with money that none of us can understand it because it's like what? We're so brainwashed or acclimatized or whatever it is to this notion of money, which is a bizarre notion. How we place value in things. But like, I don't have a better idea. Do you have a better idea? So then they come back 23 years later in an ice cream van and stamp some books and disappear into the sunset again. Brilliant documentary. I thoroughly enjoyed
it's
it.
Great. Yeah.
Absolutely getting 10 Peter Kingsleys out of 10 Peter Kingsley's.
Yeah, I give it 10 as well. Yeah.
Not even because it's a great topic and I love the whole thing about it. It's well made. You know, it's all the interviews are great. All the things you want. The sound is great. The color correction, sorry, Spud. All of it's good. And the reconstruction of the events and the refilming, and for a documentary that didn't involve the two main characters, that there was no interviews with them at all. It doesn't feel like that. The way when you watch a Beatles documentary where they're not allowed to play the music or they're not allowed, and it's just like it's other people talking about John Lennon and there's no John Lennon in it. There's loads of Bill Drummond and Jimmy, to the point there's even more Bill Drummond and Jimmy Cauty in this than there is in Paul Dunn's documentary. It seems to be the more present in it. But what's your rating?
Yeah, no, I'll give it 10 as well. Yeah, I loved it. Loved every second of it. Yeah. It's great crack to watch their hijinks.
Yeah.
It is.
It gladdened my heart, and I got really giddy after it, and I was like on Twitter, whoa, it's brilliant. And I was like, brilliant, I could do it. I could do it that kind of light, and that's I think we need the jester, we need the trickster, we need the person or the people who are going around that are just trying point and gun. Not all, it's not all dark. It's how you approach it. Which, I could do with that now. Any tricksters going around? Any of them can we latch on to? That isn't us. I also like that it's, the duo thing. Is good. That seems to be how these things work, The classic duos of Bill and Jimmy, Tommy and Spud. The classics. The people who we remembered.
We should do
Batman and Robin.
We should do some fucking guerrilla art of music projects.
But here's the thing that coming from it, like you kind of go, it's not to emulate them. It's not to do mental stuff.
No.
It's to be you, to do the thing, to fully be who you are. So it's not, for me, it wouldn't be like, I'll go on a world tour and make some beds because that's what Bill Drummond. It's like, no, what would Tommy do? What, in the way, what would the KLF do? What would Tommy do if he was on his best day and wasn't full of anxiety and nerves and depression and, cultural shite? And I think it's a great question that they often ask themselves because when they didn't know what to do. But what would the KLF do? What would the best sense of who we are do in this situation? What would the Master do from the 47s? That's brilliant documentary. And if you're into chaos magic or you're into any of these things and you haven't read John Higgs' book, do yourself a favour and read it 6 times. The audiobook is great as well if that's your inclination because he reads it himself. And read some of them.
There's a good website I found, klf.de. Right. Obviously, it's some hardcore nut who loves the KLF and it's everything. Everything. It's a great website.
Right, brilliant. Yeah.
Class. Yeah.
Dead on.
And, I'm like you. I'm not like the music. I take it or leave it. I'm not night pop music or rap music. You know, and well, I like that chill out one. I mostly think music doesn't even have fucking words, to be honest. And it's like, so the music their music doesn't really affect me that much. But it's just the when the two of them are together, just they do stuff. They do stuff that is like, and it's fucking inspiring to watch it because like you're watching just go, fuck, I'd love to do something like that.
Yeah.
Fucking love it, like just to do something mad. Tell fucking no one. Except for the people that are involved, because like I can't go to Warsaw and put up posters, but like, you know, they do it. They have their remit. You have to do this at midnight on the fucking 10th of April, and you have to do it in London on the 10th of April, and no one tells anyone. Okay, nobody. Unless you see what happens.
Yeah.
Do you know? I'd love to do it.
Yeah. It's just it's something very magical, but I don't know, the underground or something very like that just touches you. That something that it's just it's a niche that's not been scratched not been itched, or something that's just not in our pop culture.
I think it's to kind of see if anyone's watching. You know what I mean? Is anyone paying attention, or is everyone just a sheeple?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, or getting their attention is always, you know, finding the others. All of that stuff is kind of and it's re-enchanting your life. That's exactly what it's re-enchanting the world. The thing that we all claim we're doing as magicians. Are we re-enchanting the world? Are we making it a bit more sad by being sad? I know. Yeah, that's what I love about the KLF is that certainly Bill Drummond's world, ostensibly from the outside, is very enchanted, and Jimmy Cauty, he's a bit more reserved, I think, than Bill, but it's as genius level, and you kind of, you know, we all had that Lord of the Rings poster on a wall when we were kids.
Tommy, I've literally written down those words.
Right.
We all had that Lord of the Rings poster.
Yeah, every one of us. Yeah,
we did.
So, yeah, brilliant. Yeah, so go and re-enchant your world, people. Watch this doc. Really good. Yes, just 1 hour 46. Bye.